Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through some of the problems on the 3B assignment. Okay, first one we're going to take a look at, write with an integer denominator. So that means our denominator cannot have a root in it. So to get rid of that root, multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. Okay, so up here, 1 times root 3 is root 3. Root 3 times root 3 is the square root of 9, which we also know is just 3. So it's just root 3 over 3. Okay? Same thing here. We want to get rid of we don't care about the root 3, but we do care about the root 2. We got to get rid of that. So easiest way to do that, if there's just one term down there, is just multiply it by root 2 here. And we get root 6 on the top, and that's root 4 on the bottom. But we know that the square root of 4 is just 2. So we end up with root 6 over 2. Okay, and then this one here, same idea. Multiply top and bottom by root 7. This is going to just be 21 root 7 because the numbers outside the radical and inside the radical stay away from each other. All right, root 7 times root 7 is square root of 49, which we know is 7. So 21 root 7, actually the 21 and the 7 will reduce to 3 over 1, so we're just going to end up with 3 root 7 for that one. Okay? All right, let's see here. Number 2, write with an integer denominator. So these here, we got to multiply the top and the bottom here by the conjugate. So whatever sign is in front of the root, which is this positive 2, we got to switch this sign that's in front of the root. So we're going to multiply by 3 minus root 2, top and bottom. Okay? So if we end up doing this, let's do this. Oops, that was not terribly pretty, so we'll do this here, and we'll just kind of work down here. So we've got 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times negative root 2 is negative root 2. There's our numerator. And then in the denominator, we're going to want to FOIL it, right? 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative 2 is negative 3 root 2. Inside, root 2 times positive 3. They're both positive. That'll be positive 3 root 2. And then outside, positive times a negative is a negative. Root 2 times root 2 is root 4. We know that the square root of 4 is 2. Okay? Now here's the big key here. Here's why we multiply by the conjugate. These two terms here end up canceling each other out, so we end up on the top with 3 minus root 2. And on the bottom we have 9 minus 2 gives us 7, and there's our answer. Okay? Same idea over here. We've got this here, and we got to multiply by the conjugate. Switch the sign in front of the root. Okay? If this happened to say negative root 2 plus 1, we would still change the sign in front of the negative, so that in front of the root, so that would end up being positive. So either way we have it, it's 1 plus root 2, 1 plus root 2. Okay, and then we're going to multiply these out here. All right, root negative. So we're going to take this times both of these here. So negative 2 root 2 times 1 is negative 2 root 2. And then negative 2 root 2 times another root 2. The negative 2 doesn't have anything to multiply by, so we just leave that negative 2. Root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which we know is actually just 2. So this, let's see. Well, let's do this. This on the top here is negative 2 root 2, and then negative 2 times 2 is minus 4. So we can just leave that like that for now, and then we'll do the bottom here. So we got to FOIL the bottom. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times positive root 2 is positive root 2. Negative root 2 times 1 is negative root 2. And negative root 2 times positive root 2 is negative root 4, which again we know square root of 4 is 2. So, and these two end up canceling each other out. So we have 1 minus 2. So this whole thing is over negative 1. Okay? We don't want roots or actually negatives in the denominator. Since we have a negative in the denominator, we'll want to multiply everything by negative, which basically just means we're going to switch all the signs. So we just end up with 2 root 2 plus 4. And we are done with that one. Okay. Last one, 3. Write in the form a plus b root 2. I'm going to ignore that here, and let's just multiply these things out and see what we get. Okay. So 3 plus root 2 times 3 plus root 2 squared is going to be 3 plus root 2 times 3 plus root 2. So we're going to just multiply. We can just FOIL this thing out, right? 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times root 2 is 3 root 2. Inside, root 2 times 3 is another 3 root 2. And root 2 times root 2 is the square root of 4, which really is just 2, right? So we end up with 9 plus 2 is 11. And then we have 3 root 2 plus 3 root 2 is 6 root 2. 11 plus 6 root 2. Look, A is 11, B is 6, and we end up with that root 2 business here. Really, this could just say simplify, and it's the same idea. But anyway, we'll go with it. So this one here, we got to multiply by the top and the bottom by the conjugate, right? Which is change the sign in front of the root. So this would be 6 plus root 2 over 6 plus root 2. Okay, so got to FOIL out both the top and the bottom. So 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times root 2 is 5 root 2. Negative root 2 times 6 is negative 6 root 2. And then negative root 2 times positive root 2 is negative root 4, which we know is just 2. Okay, that's the numerator. Denominator, 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times root 2 is 6 root 2. Negative root 2 times 6 is negative 6 root 2. And negative root 2 times positive root 2 is negative root 4, which we know is actually just negative 2. Okay, and then now we can simplify. 30 and negative 2 is 32. And then 5 root 2 minus 6 root 2 is a negative root 2 in the numerator, which is fine. The positive 6 root 2 and the negative 6 root 2 cancel each other out. 36 minus 2 gives us 34. So we just have 32 minus root 2 all over 34. Okay? All right, that's all we have for the 3B assignment. If you have any further questions on this assignment or any of these problems, please feel free to ask. Thanks.